Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're going to begin this class, the portion of Matot. And it's probably one of the rare times we're going to say we read the entire portion from the Zohar, because it's only a couple of pages. So let's get started. All right. Ellen, let's start with the synopsis, please.
Okay. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yitzchak talk about the wise-hearted women that spin and work with their hands. And from this, they derive that those women combine judgment and mercy. We hear that Rabbi Elazar said that every woman is considered judgment until she marries a man of Israel who is compassion. And thus, judgment and mercy are joined together. The rabbis explain why it is forbidden for men to have intercourse with women from the other nations. We hear that God called the souls of Israel chesed, so that the world would never be without love. From this, it is clear that anyone who destroys chesed will not exist in the world to come. Matot ends with a reference to levirate, is that right? Levirate, marriage, where the childless man's brother restores chesed to the world.
Okay. וכל הטף בנשים אשר לא ידעו משכב זכר, תמן תננם. אמר רבי יהודה, אין העולם מתנהג אלא בתרי גוונים, דעתו מסתר איתתה, דהשתכחת חתימת ליבה הידקטיב, וכל אישה חוכמת לב, בידיה תבוא ויביאו מתוות. את התכלת ואת הארגמן, ומהי מתיין את התכלת ואת הארגמן, גוונין דכלילן בגו גוונה.
But all the women, children that have not known man by lying with him, in relation to this, we learn that Rabbi Yehuda said the world is maintained by two colors only, white and red, namely chesedim and chokhmah of the left that come from the aspect of the wise-hearted woman. Hence it says, and all of the women that were wise-hearted did spin with their hands and brought that which they had spun, both of blue and of purple. What did they bring? The scripture says blue and purple, which are colors contained within colors. That is, there are two main colors, white and red, and blue and purple colors are included within these two colors.
הדאו דכתיב דרשה צמר ופשתים ותעש בחפץ כפיה, וכתיב בידיה תבוא מה יתבוא, אמר רבי יהודה תבוא בדינה תבוא ברחמי, אמר רבי יצחק המאית קריה, אישה אמר לדכלילה בדינה וכלילה ברחמי.
This is the meaning of she seeks wool and flax and works willingly with her hands, since wool pertains to the right and mercy, and flax to the left and judgment. It is also written, did spin with their hands. What is spin? Rabbi Yehuda says, they spin with judgment and they spin with mercy. That is, they interlace right and left with each other, and the judgments of the left are sweetened by the mercy of the right. Rabbi Yitzchak says, why is a woman so called, which is derived from fire? He said to him, she contains judgment and mercy. She is therefore called Ishka, the letters
Isha.
of Aish, Isha,
Mm-hmm.
Isha. The letters of Aish, Hey, Aish being judgment and Hey, mercy.
תחת זה דאמר רבי אלעזר וכל איתתה בדינה, אית קריה עד דעת אמה, טעמה דרחמי, דתניה מסתרה דברנש, עתה חיברה ומסתרה דאיתתה, עתה סומקה טעמה, איתתה מחיברה וחיברה עדיף.
Come and behold. Rabbi Elazar said, every woman is considered to be of judgment since they are rooted in the left column. It is so until she tastes the taste of mercy, that is, marries a man, as a male is rooted in the right column, which is chesed and mercy. We learn that it is from the side of the man that white is produced, such as the bones of the fetus, for he is of mercy. From the side of the woman comes the red of the fetus, the red of the flesh, and sinew, which are of judgment. When a woman tastes of the white, that is, when she is married to a man, white is more predominant in her, through her root is the red.
Okay, very good. Just give me 1 second. ותחה זה המאי אסירה נשה שער המין, דרדה משכבי דחורה, משום דתננן אית ימינה ואית שמאלה ישראל, ושאר המין וגה וגהנם. עלמדה ועלמה דעתי ישראל לקבלי דרחמי, ושאר המין לקבלי דדינה ותנן איתתה. דעת אמה טעמה דרחמי. רחמי נצחה איתתה דאיתמה טעמה דדינה. דינה בדינה התדבקת ועליהו יתקרה, והכלבים הזה נפש לא ידעו שבעה.
Come and behold, this is why women of other nations who know man by lying with him are forbidden to be wed. We have learned that there is right, chesed, and left judgment, which are Israel and the other nations, and also the Garden of Eden on the right and Gehenna on the left. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
The world is on the left and the world to come is on the right. The children of Israel correspond to mercy on the right and the other nations to judgment on the left. We have learned that when a woman has a taste of mercy, that is, when she marries one of the men of Israel, mercy overpowers judgment and she turns into mercy. When a man has a taste of judgment, that is, when she marries a foreigner who pertains to judgment, as mentioned, judgment cleaves to judgment. The judgment in the woman adheres to the judgment in the foreigner. It is written of them, the dogs are insolently greedy. They never have enough.
ועל דעת תננן הנבעלת לעקום קשורה בו ככלב, מה כלבת עקיפה ברוחי חציפה, עוף אחת דינה בדינה, חציפה בחולה הנבעלת לישראל תננן. כתיב ואתם הדבקים בהשם אלוהיכם, חיים כולם היו ממתת משום דנשמתה דישראל. עתיה מרוחה דאלוקים, חיים דכתיב כי רוח מלפני יעטוף. משמע דכתיב מלפני ובגימל כף יתתה דהי בתולת ולה ידבקת בדינה קשיא דשאר אמין, וידבקת בישראל רחמי נצחה ויתקשרת.
In relation to this, we have learned that a woman who is married to a foreigner is attached to him like a dog. Just as a dog has a strong, impotent spirit, she who is married to a foreigner is also most impotent when judgment cleaves to judgment. We learn that she who is married to one of the children of Israel, it says of her, but you did cleave to Hashem, your Elohim are alive, every one of you this day. What is the reason thereof? The soul of Israel comes from the spirit of living Elohim as written, but the spirit should faint walked before me. This is understood from the phrase before me, which means from before the Shekhinah named from Zeranpin called living Elohim. Therefore, in a virgin woman who does not cleave to the harsh judgment of the other nations as mentioned above, but cleaves to Israel, which is of mercy. Mercy is more powerful, and she is corrected from the judgment in her.
Mm-hmm. More? Yeah, one more. ותחת זה כתיב אמרתי עולם, חסד ייבנה, מה אי חסד הוא חד מכתרי. אילאה, דמלכה דנשמתה דישראל, קרא לה קודשה בריחו חסד. אל תנאי דהתבנה ולה, איש תצא חסד מעלמה, משמע דכתיב ייבנה. לג' כף תננן, מה איש דשצא חסד מעלמה, איש תצא הוא לעלמה דעתה. ועל דכתיב לא תהיה אשת המת החוצה, בגין למעבד חסד עם מיתה, דהתאבד בניינה, דכתיב עולם חסד ייבנה.
Come and behold, it is written, for I have said the world is built by chesed. What is chesed? He answers, it is one of the king's supernal sphirot, named the highest of the lower seven sphirot. For the Holy One, blessed be he, named the soul of Israel chesed on the condition that it would build chesed. Thus, chesed will never cease. This is derived from the phrase is built, which refers to chesed that will be built. We have therefore learned that he who causes chesed to cease in the world will perish in the world to come. Hence it is written, the wife of the dead shall not marry abroad to a stranger, in order to do kindness with the dead man, so that he will be built and established. As it is written, the world is built by chesed.
Very good. So we're going to discuss a couple of things. So there is an interesting passage here. We have therefore learned that he who causes chesed, or mercy, goodness, positivity, to cease in the world will perish in the world to come. And so that means that most of what we do, we don't exactly see the result of what we do. And by the way, let it be good or bad, positive or negative. And so this is why it brings a lot of questions and doubts, that you could do a lot of good and not see the fruit of your labor. You could be a sharing person, you could be very charitable and volunteering and do all kinds of acts of kindness. And at the end of the day, you don't see the result of the things that you want to see happening in your life that don't necessarily happen. That works also in the negative, which means that somebody could be involved in all sorts of negative acts and he wouldn't see the result right away, or he might actually not see even the results in this lifetime. And so one might think, I can get away with anything. People can cheat, people can lie, people can steal, people can kill, and they can get away with it. And you can see today what's going on in the world. It just seems like there is no cause and effect. There can be like a whole country with civilians that are like decimated, and you just think that, you know, the ones that are perpetrating the attacks, they just, you know, justify it with whatever they think is right and whatever is their reason, and killing children and women and elderly and innocents, and they get away with it. And it just seems like you can get away with just about anything. We're not just talking about, you know, like about a nation. We're talking about people that are perpetrating all sorts of crimes out there. They can go in, they can fill up their carts today in a supermarket and get out, and nobody's going to stop them. It just seems like even our society is supporting it. It's very confusing. And look at what the Zohar is telling us. This is a sentence that was written 2,000 years ago. We have learned that he who has caused chesed to cease in this world would perish in the world to come. And then you have the poor people that are suffering in this world for no reason. The real victims. It's very confusing, isn't it? Didn't we just say you can spend a lifetime to do wrong, to do bad, to make the wrong decisions, and you might think that, and we do think that we can get away with it. This is why you have a lot of people that get away with a lot of things and they compensate with some charity. So they're going to be involved in amazing charitable work worldwide. But on the side, they're doing all sorts of things that are questionable. This is like almost like deciphering or resolving like a lifetime question mark for all humanity. Can there be victimness? Can there be somebody that suffers for no reason? Does this answer the question or not? So obviously, the smart debaters, they would say, yes, but what do you do with the Holocaust? What do you do with genocide? What do you do with A, B, and C? Let's start with simple things. Let's start with turning on the news. What's going on with politicians, what's going on with everything that's going on in the world today. Pharmaceutical companies. I mean, you have like, what is the sugar disease? How is it called again? I always forget this word.
Diabetes.
Diabetes. So you have some medicine for diabetes. I mean, if you're not insured, which is like another big question mark, that cost thousands of dollars. Somebody that wants to be taken care of and has a good insurance, they would still pay money every single month. Like I remember Barbara, she was paying hundreds of dollars every month, and she had like an insurance and an additional insurance. You go to Europe, the same exact medicine costs pennies. Pennies. I mean, we can go on and talk about, what humankind would do out of greed and out of selfishness and out of self-gain. We're not here to point fingers because this is a lesson for us. Because there are some areas in our lives that at some point today, yesterday, last week, last month, last year, that we felt like a victim. Why is this happening to me? What did I do? All I focus in my life is to do good, to work on myself, spirituality and praying and sharing and caring and volunteering. And this happens to me, and I'm struggling with this over and over and over and over again for the past 5-10 years. It's not fair. And here the Zohar is giving us a very simple answer. Whenever what is happening, and it's good and bad, by the way, whenever what is happening does not make sense at all, it's coming from nowhere that you would have expected it. And it slaps you on the face. And there is no comprehension and there is no understanding, and you just don't get it. Why is this happening to me? When the logic is out of the equation, you know for sure that it's past life. You know for sure that right now there is a karmic debt that is at play, and just go for the ride. Just go for the ride. Whatever needs to be cleansed from whatever I planted 13 lifetimes ago is coming to claim its dues. So hopefully whatever I'm paying for right now is emotional, or it's like a flat tire, or it's a little repair of this, or it's like a mechanical, or whatever. It's like just physical things. If it's harsher things, the rule is the same. It's just that to work on it, on embracing it as part of our karmic debt, is a little bit more challenging. But on the day-to-day, if ever we catch ourselves at thinking for ourselves, we didn't communicate it to anybody, to think for ourselves, my gosh, why is this happening to me? Why am I the victim of such injustice? It's not cool, it's not fair, it's not right. Whenever the reasoning goes in that direction, we need to know that the answer, the clearest answer, is past life. And so when here he talks about the world to come, the universe is telling us, don't worry about it. Do whatever you can. The good is going to pay up. The good is going to pay up. And so that's why you see a lot of people, like I said, it works bad and good. So when the bad hits, it's not very pleasant. It's very uncomfortable. It goes from, uncomfortable to painful to exhausting to excruciating. Like there is a variation. But there is also the good that works exactly the same fashion. That good hits you for no reason. An encounter, somebody that you meet and that is like just wants to help you for no reason. You have a teacher, you have a guide, you have a coach. You play the lottery and you win. Whatever, you go to purchase or to lease a car and you get like the deal of the century. Like even today, I spoke to somebody like an hour ago, and that person said, that was my lucky day. Does it ever happen to you? That you either think it or, like you go, like I usually get those things like with parking. I truly believe that I have an angel and I named him Parkiel. He helps me to park. And usually it works. But it doesn't work just, for that. Like there are gazillions of angels that are helping us with all sorts of other things, including with luck. So there is some luck that we have generated, that we have produced from this life and previous lifetime. And when it hits, like it's not like when this person said that, oh, you wouldn't believe that was my luckiest day. And when somebody begins like that, it was my luckiest day, you know that it doesn't make sense because that person is not used to be lucky. That person is used to struggle or to be challenged or whatever. But today, challenge, obstacles, went for a hike. And today, I got lucky. Whatever I did, from the moment that I woke up, it was my luckiest day. That's not a coincidence either. You were not lucky. There is no such a thing as luck. There is earned, there is rewards, the same as there is the opposite of rewards. It works exactly the same way. It's just that the significance of the two opposites means so much more than in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, it has just one word, two, I should say. Three, I should say, cause and effect. In the spiritual world, it's just cause and effect, and it applies to anything. So earlier we spoke about the woman and marrying a man, and he needs to be in this way, and he needs to be that way, on the men of Israel, and we need to understand. And obviously, like if you put like this plain text on Facebook or whatever, you'd be banned by Facebook, you'll lose 3/4 of your friends. Why? Because the text, I mean, this is a text from 2000 years ago, and it is a coded text that we need to be very careful how we interpret this text, right? I mean, it said here earlier something about woman and a dog. It made me raise my eyebrows. I was like, wow, if that goes out, we're in trouble. Here we go. Okay, we have learned that a woman who is married to a foreigner is attached to him like a dog. So, two important things to clarify, just like from this sentence. Married to a foreigner. What is a foreigner? A foreigner, in Hebrew, you would translate it as El or Kel, we would say. And we're talking about a spirit, a negative spirit, or it can be somebody who is not interested in the spiritual work, because the opposite is she who is married to one of the children of Israel, then, but you that did cleave to Hashem your Elohim are alive, every one of you this day. So if you marry one of the children of Israel, then you are with Hashem. And if you are marrying a foreigner, then you attach to him like a dog. Obviously, this should not be taken literally. So the dog, what is the reference? It's not an anti-animal reference. Where the Zohar here is making a reference to the nefesh behemit. And kelev or kalba is the nefesh behemit, which is like the animal spirit that is within every single individual. When we're talking about a child of Israel, it is not a Jewish person. It is a person that cleaves to the teachings of Israel. Again, who is Israel? We're talking about Jacob and the lineage of Jacob, right? And so we're talking about a lineage that is to cleave to the Creator, to work on ourselves, to follow the precepts and the commandments, etc., etc. So it is a person that works on himself to balance the right column, which is chesed, and the left column that is gvura. And so at the same time, you know, the Zohar made reference in different metaphors to the right being mercy and judgment and heaven and hell. Hell is Gehenom. So when we're talking about the woman, it is the left column, and she is representing the energy, the polarity of judgment, and the man represents the polarity of mercy or chesed, chasedim. But it's not enough. That man needs to be a man or a child of Israel, basically a spiritual individual. A spiritual individual is not somebody who is calling himself a spiritual individual, or is doing yoga, or is doing all sorts of, you know, like religious acrobacies. This is not what we're talking about. Somebody who is spiritual is somebody who walks the talk. Is somebody that doesn't need to teach you or preach you for you to realize, well, that person is somebody, I'd like this person to be my role model. And so when that woman marries a child of Israel, then there is the cleavance to Hashem, your Elohim, are alive, every one of you this day. So we're connecting to basically the tree of life. And when we are not connecting with somebody who is a child of Israel, or in other words, a foreigner, we call it also a wicked person. Like there is no middle in this. There is no gray area. It's either you are following a path or you're not following a path and you're not interested and you're just a wicked person. And a wicked person is not an evil person that spends his days to do evil. A wicked person is just a person that is grounded to the level of Malchut with everything that goes with it. What goes with Malchut? Physical things, pride, selfishness, anger, jealousy, all the emotional, cards that we have within us. And then there is also the physical things that we attach to, or even addictions. The addictions, we're not just talking about physical addictions, we're talking about emotional, spiritual, energetical, all sorts of addictions. And so, again, we have these two opposites where I guess that lays the choice for every single person. It's not who you married that determines who you are and who he is. This is just a reminder that there aren't many middle points. It's either we live a spiritual life following a spiritual path, or we are part of the realm, the world of randomness. And the realm of the randomness, it's basically the realm of the foreigner. It's the realm of the wicked. And so we can continue on with all that is coded in here. And it has nothing to do with, you need to marry a person from that nation, or if you're not, then you become attached to him like a dog on a literal aspect. All of this is metaphoric, and all of this is to give us, to uplift our consciousness that it's not just to be deciphered on the literal aspect. Is there any question this far? Everything is clear.
I have a question. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if I should be asking it now.
Go ahead.
What's your thought on, in our next incarnation, do you think that we would have any soul recollection of these teachings, or that it would provide some kind of mercy in any sense that we had the merit to learn anything in this incarnation?
I think it's a very good question. And I think that as we are choosing a path of learning, education, school of thought, that it be Kabbalah today, or that it was a multitude of all the teachings previously that led you to where you are today, is only resetting the things where you left off. So there are people that can just regain the knowledge, retrieve the knowledge and the wisdom that they have acquired, that accomplished in the previous lifetime, and they can just be lazy and just stay there. And then there are those that are going to catch up very, very quickly in age and time, and they're going to take it a step forward. And you can, it's like we can be self-critical to tell ourselves, okay, I've learned everything that I knew before, because it really feels like I didn't learn anything new. It's just like, like a refresher. And I hear that a lot of time, after classes, like I always get like a message, thank you, that was a good reminder. And in truth, this is what it is. We are not teaching anything new. You are reconditioning yourself to retrieve to restore what your soul, I mean, your soul has a capacity, that is completely endless. And so what I am sharing is like a gazillion of zeros, 0.1 or 0.1, 0.0000, a gazillion of zero. And it's just a spark of nothingness compared to what your soul truly has access to. You can close your eyes and elevate your soul and connect to endless. Unfortunately, when we wake up from our sleep, we forget, for example, our dreams. Why do we forget most of our dreams very quickly? Because our mind can catch up with endless. Why? Because there is so much finite energy, right? And so, yes, we regain everything that we've learned and everything that we have mastered. That is also why you can see, small geniuses that like 5 or 6 years old and they're playing the piano like amazing, right? And you can't really explain it with where did they get it from. Or you have like a 5, 6, 7 years old that has a very detailed description of his past life, where he was a pilot and he knows everything about the engine and about the planes and where he flew and where he dropped some bombs and all sorts of like things that even if you are in the aviation, you wouldn't know, because it was like an older plane and strategies and whatnot. Incredible things that you come back with, and you can catch up everything very quickly. But the question is, how do you take it from here? So you recovered everything, you rebooted your computer. Now what? Is it continued education, or do you estimate that you know enough? And with that, you're in a place where you can teach others. I've seen, and I'm putting it, the way that I see it, for the past 21 years, I've seen countless of people that took Kabbalah 1, Kabbalah 2, Kabbalah 3, and they felt that the basic was not enough for them anymore, and it was too basic. Or even that somebody would come to Kabbalah 1 and would stop at the 3rd class because he would feel that it's too basic. He knows everything already. And if we are in that full cup sentiment, there is nothing the universe can teach us, neither with Kabbalah or anything else, because we have to humble ourselves. And if we don't humble ourselves, the universe is going to humble us. But by choice, there are some souls, there are some people that are choosing to just recover what they've learned and what they have acquired in a previous lifetime and stay there. The lesson is, how can I regain and recover everything that I need to restore, that I've learned before, and how can I take it to the next level? Because I did not come to only restore what I've accomplished. I came back to take whatever I've learned to the next step. And it's the same with a lineage, for instance. You work very hard and you built a business, or you built a knowledge or a practice, and the greatest desire, I'm trying to like phrase it in a way that's not gonna hurt anybody's feelings, but the greatest desire, one of the greatest desire of a parent is that if that parent built a business or whatnot, the wish of that parent is that his child is going to take over the business. A lot of times it happens in this way, and sometimes, the child doesn't want to have anything to do with the business and wants to do comedy or whatever, teaching. And so this is to say that we come to naturally and organically, we are going to recover what we've learned, And then it is going to be a matter of choice to measure these two types of energies, polarities. The energy of mercy is always going to lead us to endless. This is why there will never be enough that we can learn, that we can feel satiated and say, okay, I'm good, I learned enough. Because wisdom is endless. This is why we can never stop ourselves from learning more. Those that are stagnant, they don't just stop, they go backwards. Why? Because the people around them, they move along. And so you can find yourself with a spouse, with a child, or a great friend. The moment that you stop keeping moving forward, the nature of this universe is to be in constant movement. That's the light. It's to be in constant movement because there is a constant expansion of the universe, endless expansion of the universe. And that should be enough to give us a lesson about what we came to accomplish. That is also why you see for doctors or lawyers or certain practices like that, where you have continuous education. You can just say, okay, I've learned my doctorate like when I was 30, and now I'm 64 and I don't need to learn any new, like, that's crazy. Science and machinery and all the tools that they're using, like you need to constantly learn new things. With the law, the same thing. There are always new cases that are like, throwing everything that you know by the window, and you need to learn like a whole new section that you didn't know before. Those are just like small, tiny examples, for what is true spiritually. I hope I answered at length your question.
Thank you so much.
Any last question for today?
Yehuda, hi, I got a question. You were mentioning to do good things and bad things and having the rewards or no in life. But what happens if a person is doing something wrong and he doesn't know that it's wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, as an example, you're a part of a tribe of indigenous that they practice cannibalism. And for them, it's very normal, but it's not good. So how we will play a role that in a, like karma for the next life, let's say.
What's wrong with cannibalism? I'm just kidding.
I make an example.
Listen, I gave you a realistic example, and that is, for instance, when people are in the name of their ideology, kill other people. I mean, you don't need to be smart. You don't need to come out of Harvard or Yale or whatever grade school to figure things out. But unfortunately, the same as we could point fingers at those people that are brainlessly following command, it is a sin by itself to not stop yourself and think, is what I'm doing right? Does it feel to my heart and soul that what I'm doing right now is right? To have empathy for others, to have empathy for myself, to open my heart chakra. Ultimately, that would lead us to a more elevated state of comprehension and of channeling. What I'm doing right now is not right. The universe, your heart, and your soul communicate to you that you are on the wrong path. And for somebody who is in touch, who is in tune, who is in synchronicity with the universe, would not even put himself in such a situation so that he later on has to put himself out. For somebody who is aligned, is just going to put things in perspective that it doesn't have to be in those situations. His soul would not choose to be born in a country that does something like that. So you might have a tribe or a country, let's go to war, and and they lead with fear. So whoever is deserting, it's not just himself that's going to be hurt, it's his family and his children and his wife and his parents. This is how they do, right? Like if you desert, it's like, like the entire family is going to be dishonored. They just have ways and means to make it happen that you do have people that are going to think for themselves and are going to say, I don't want anything to do with this. And you do have some people, for example, in Ukraine right now, that some Russians are like deserting and they're saying, I don't want anything to do with this. It's crazy. I didn't join the army to do that, to kill innocents. And in the name of whatever it is that you choose, like if you're listening to their propaganda, they are in the right. And if you listen to their propaganda 24/7 for 2 or 3 days, you'll start believing that they're right. Because this is how you condition a human brain. A human brain is very easily influenceable, however you pronounce that word. You can influence, you can, like bend the mind of a human being very easily. We are smart, but we're not very intelligent. And so when it comes to situations like this, they just have the ways to program the masses. And you just find yourself like, like an army of 3 million people that are just following orders. And by the way, when the war is going to be over, they're all going to receive amnesty. Why? Because they received orders. But remember what we spoke. Whatever atrocities were perpetrated in this lifetime, don't worry about it. The universe is telling them, don't worry about it. This universe is based on mercy. You did what you did here, I'm giving you amnesty. Just go to sleep. And wake up and lead a new life and have your own family and have children and pay your mortgage and lease or buy, finance a car and whatnot. Next life comes and hell is breaking loose in the life of those people and they do not understand. And by the way, they're all born in this captivity of cannibalism. And they get eaten by this tribe. And then you can say, like this poor family, they were traveling and they got kidnapped and they got eaten alive. So you can say, like whatever is happening in this lifetime, when it is done in a negative way that awakens judgment, don't worry about it. You'll get a free pass in this lifetime. But next life is when you're going to need to come and pay your dues. The same works for good and positivity. Just focus on doing good, it will pay 10 times fold. You might not see it in this lifetime. And if you see some of it in this life, it's most probably because of what you've done in a previous lifetime. You just need to know that the most basic, and I'm sorry, it's a basic lesson, but it's the most fundamental rule of this universe, cause and effect. And if we are living, walking the talk, and we still find ourselves feeling victim, feeling hurt, we get hurt, our emotions get hurt like 100 times a day. If our emotions get hurt 100 times a day, we need to go to Kabbalah 1. We don't like to hear that, right? Because we are not beginners anymore. Some of you have done Kabbalah 1 like 100 times. You've mentored people. You don't need Kabbalah 1, you can teach it. But this is my easiest assessment. You still find yourself a victim and hurt and judging and not understanding how a person can act this way and pointing fingers and blaming and whatever, and not talking to this person or that. Oh, I'm talking to everybody, just not this person. And so when we act in this way, we're still not truly spiritually advanced. We could have gotten an online certificate of a spiritual practitioner, but to walk the talk, I'm telling you, I need Kabbalah 1 over again. I need Kabbalah 1. I'm teaching it, and I need Kabbalah 1 over again. This is why when I was teaching Kabbalah 1, it was the best. Why? Because I was teaching it to myself. I was teaching it to myself, and every single time, every single Kabbalah 1, I would learn something new. It was my favorite class, Kabbalah 1. The deep stuff is also very like mind stretching. I love it too, that it stretches your mind, especially you come out of a class and you have a headache. It feels good. You didn't understand nothing. Feels good. How stupid is that? But still, you know, we just like it. Anyway, thank you for joining. And hopefully we'll have class again next week. And if you have any question or need to reach out, don't hesitate. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Yehuda.
Thank you.
You're welcome.